Just, showing the crowd. That's what they do when they do things.
Alright. Hello, welcome to my speech about the impact our diet has on the environment. According to The Guardian, which is a magazine, the United Nations considers the importance of switching to a meat and dairy-free diet on par with changing our fossil fuel addiction as far as combating environmental damage. These dangers to the environment both increase drastically with an increase in population, both fossil fuels and the damage that we do from what we eat. A recent report by the UN states that agriculture, particularly for meat and dairy products, accounts for 70% of global freshwater consumption, 38% of the total land use, and 19% of the world's population, or the world's greenhouse gas emissions. Kind of a big deal. Not to mention, the overconsumption of meat is a leading contributor to malnourishment, obesity, and antibiotic resistance in humans. Our impact to the environment is very important, and the details of that impact are very eye-opening, as you'll soon see. An article in the Ethics and Environment section of the Gale Opposing Viewpoints website shows that raising animals for consumption, it creates a large amount, or uses a large amount of the world's agriculture. This in turn uses a lot of the fresh water and pesticides and stuff that could be going towards food that would be like directly for human consumption, as opposed to food that goes to the animals, which the animals are then consumed by us. Water use, for example, according to earthshare.org, a pound of beef requires 2,000 gallons of water, while a pound of lettuce only requires 23 gallons, like to raise it, nourish it up to the point where you can eat it. And the amount of water used to create a pound of beef could instead be used to create 16 pounds of potatoes or 25 pounds of broccoli, which those might not taste as good, but that's a lot more food for the world. The energy used to raise livestock greatly outweighs the energy that will be consumed by eating that livestock, so it just kind of seems like a waste of energy. And the impact on our land is also impacted by this livestock industry. It's greatly damaged, like just by the animals walking around and eating everything there, killing the plants, that kind of stuff. For example, the cattle ranching industry is the primary reason for deforestation in the Amazon, which that's kind of a big deal because we need trees to breathe. And globally, 32 million acres of forest are cut down every year because of to create more room for the livestock industry, and that's about the size of Greece every single year being removed. Pretty intense. The industry also has a lot of energy impact, like transporting livestock around from the farm to the slaughterhouse and then distributing it across the nation. The way that it kind of works out is each pound, or a single calorie of beef requires about 40 calories of fossil fuel. So by eating beef, you're supporting that 40 calories per calorie. It's kind of a bad thing. And if you thought humans were doing a lot of damage to the environment, consider the fact that the livestock population is 8 times greater than the human population. So it's just bad all around. And in the livestock industry, every year over 65 billion animals are slaughtered. That's 650 animals every second. So like 650 deaths, 650 deaths, 650 deaths, like consistently, constantly, for the rest of your life. It's insane. The amount of grain that's required to feed livestock in the US is 7 times the amount of grain that's actually consumed by humans in the United States. And that grain, just from the US, would be enough to feed the 800 million malnourished humans on Earth. So, it's crazy stuff. Greenhouse gases are also emitted by the livestock industry in pretty intense doses, I'd say. It's greater than the amount of greenhouse gases released from the livestock industry is greater than the amount released from power generation and from transportation. It's about 1/3 of all greenhouse gas emissions come from just livestock animals. Cutting down the amount of animals that we eat would greatly reduce this. The amount of greenhouse gases that are emitted. And the livestock industry has many negative impacts, obviously, but we all have the ability to make a difference in that. For example, like I mean, like raising livestock is just kind of normal in America. Like it's part of life. It's considered very American, but it does have a lot of negative effects, like I covered earlier. Dedicating so many of our precious resources to this industry just kind of seems illogical because we just get such a small amount of energy out of that industry. And when responding to my survey, 73% of the class said that they had never considered a vegetarian diet, which a vegetarian diet is one of the hugest things we can do to combat the livestock industry and its like rapid growth. And if you don't think that you can fully commit to a vegetarian thing, because I realize it's a big deal, trying just a few days a week would also be very helpful. If most of the families in America switched to eating no meat on 1 or 2 days a week, then within 20 years, the amount of greenhouse gas emissions would be reduced by 50%. So it's kind of a big deal, and you can definitely make a difference. The Encyclopedia of Food and Culture also shows that a vegetarian diet can help people lose weight, combat heart disease, and cancer. And like I said earlier, eating meat is one of the biggest causes of antibiotic resistance, which is when people are resistant to antibiotics because the animals that they ate had been given just sort of unnatural enhancements that will, when you eat them, they mess up your system on the inside. And thank you for listening to our speech, but the most important thing is that everyone kind of realize that everything that you eat is going to make a difference on the environment. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Good job, man.